Hi guys, so welcome to the solving one-step linear equations lecture. Now these are the easiest form of linear equations that you'll be asked to solve. Okay, so let's get into it. Now we have x minus 4 equals 8. Now let me do this at the bottom here. X minus 4 is equal to 8. Now as we learned in the previous lecture, what we need to do in order to be able to solve this linear equation is get the unknown variable, which is x in this case, on its own. Now the way to get it on its own is to get rid of everything else that is around it. So the way to do that would be to get rid of this minus 4 by taking it to the other side. Now, when we take a minus 4 to the other side, when we take a negative to the other side, it becomes a positive. So this becomes x is equal to 8. Now, let me use a different color so it stands out. Plus 4, which gives us a value of 12. So x minus 4 equals 8 results in x is equal to 12, which makes sense if we were to double check this here. So if I was to replace this x with a 12, so 12 minus 4 is in fact 8. So that's a tick. Okay, doing part B. So we have h plus 7 is equal to 10. Now we're trying to get the h on its own now, so let's circle the plus 7 and we take it to the other side. And on the other side it becomes a takeaway. So that becomes h is equal to 10 take away 7. Now 10 take away 7 gives us a value of 3. And that does make sense. So if we were to replace that h with a 3, so that's 3 plus 7, that in fact does give us 10. So that's a tick. Okay, then looking at part C now. So we have 4g is equal to 24. Now, we need to again get the g on its own. Now 4g, as we know from our beginner's course, is basically 4 times g, okay? So we need to take that 4 over to the other side, okay? We need to take that 4 over to the other side. Since it's a multiplication on the left-hand side, as you might have guessed, on the right-hand side it'll be a division, because the opposite of multiplication is division. So that gives us g is equal to 24 divided by 4. Okay, which gives us a value of 6. Fantastic. Okay, so that, again, we can double check that. So if I was to replace that g with a 6, now remember guys, that doesn't turn into a 46. What that turns it into is a 4 times 6, which in fact does give us 24. Okay, so let me quickly rub this out so we have a little bit more room for the other questions. So we have m divided by 5, which is equal to 4. So d is m divided by 5, which is equal to 4. So once again, to get the m on its own, I need to get rid of that divided by sign and take it to the other side. And if I take it to the other side, this would make it m is equal to 4, let me use a different color, times 5, which gives us 20. So m is equal to 20. So again, if I was to replace this in, so replace the m with a 20, so 20 divided by 5 is in fact 4. Okay, moving to part E now. We have 6 plus k, which is equal to 11. Now you might have noticed that the k is actually in a different spot now, but it doesn't really matter. So we're still trying to get rid of this 6 here. This positive, in fact, just refers to the k, so that's just a positive k, so we don't have to do much there. What we do need to be wary of is the positive sign that sits in front of the 6, which is invisible in this case. We don't actually have to write it. So we need to take this positive 6 over to the other side. So that makes it into k equals 11. Let me use a different color again. Minus 6. So k equals 11 minus 6, which ends up giving us a 5. So once again, if I was to replace this, k with a 5, 6 plus 5 is in fact 11. Okay, moving to part F now. So we have 50s, which is equal to 250. Now 50s, as we know, is simply 50 times s. So taking the 50 over to the other side becomes a division. Now, folks, you can stop the video at any point you want and solve these equations on your own in order to test your skills. So we have S is equal to 250 divided by, now I want to stop using a different color, divided by 50. So 250 divided by 50 is simply 5. Now, if I was to replace that S with a 5 here, so once again, guys, that doesn't make it into a 505, but instead what it does, it makes it into 50 times 5, which is in fact 250. So folks, please pause the video at this stage and have a go at the next two questions, and you'll see that H is a little bit different, and see if you can work out G and H. And we'll come back to it in a couple of seconds. Okay, so we have G is T divided by 3 equals 7. Now, again, taking the divided by 3 over to the other side makes it a times, so T equals 7 times 3, which is equal to 21. And if we were to replace it again, so 21 divided by 3 is in fact 7. Now, part H is actually not a one-step equation, and I just wanted to call it out here just to give you an understanding of what a non-one-step equation actually looks like. Okay, so I'll show you why. So let's take a 10, and I hope you at least had a go at this. You take the 10 over to the outside, so again, that becomes a takeaway, because we know that that's a positive 10 there. So this makes it into a negative j equals 8 minus 10, which we know to be negative 2. So we know that negative j is equal to negative 2. Now the reason, guys, this is not a one-step equation is because we need to find j, and all we have right now is a negative j. So we also need to take this negative over to the other side. So in this case, negative j is actually simply negative 1j. So what we are actually taking to the other side is a negative 1. Now this right here is negative 1 times j, okay? So that doesn't actually change, okay? This doesn't actually change the sign in front of the 1 because it's simply a negative number. We're not doing a plus or a minus. What we're doing is multiplying or dividing in this case. Sorry, this should be a division. In this case, of a negative number. So we take the negative over to the other side, and that makes it j is equal to negative 2 divided by negative 1, which is equal to positive 2. Now again, if we were to replace this, replace the j here with a 2, and we do in fact get a positive 8. Now the reason this is not a one-step equation is because we needed to do 2 steps. We had to go through 2 different steps in order to get the final answer. So folks, that brings us to the end of this lecture. As you can see, these are fairly straightforward one-step linear equation options. That's the easiest form of linear equations that you'll get. In the next lecture, we'll have a look at 2-step linear equations, very similar to 10 minus j equals 8. So thanks, folks. Make sure you have got the worksheets, and I will see you in the next one.